What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Matty Chymbor. I wish I could spell that. Somebody comment below. Comment. I feel like if you can spell a fart sound, you would officially win the Nobel Peace Prize. You'd win a. Is that? Why do I associate the Peace Prize with all of them? Guess what? If you can spell a fart, it's like something that they're like, we don't need this, but how do you know? What if you can start spelling? Get deep with me. If you can start spelling sounds, there must be an array of algorithms out there and other scientific stuff that they can determine through sounds, and it just opened up doors. I feel like because of farts, we're just like, okay, that's an asshole. You're like, but you're not listening to it. You know what I'm saying? You got to really listen. Immature people hear, I hear, it used to be food. I want to get vocal cords just put in my asshole. How awesome. Would that just not be the most convenient thing on earth? Just fucking, what's up? Your butthole would just sound like every degenerate cousin in any movie from the 80s or 90s. That's a good idea, guys. Let's go back to the Peace Prize thing. I don't know. Doesn't that sound like it could be a thing? Like, really think. Maybe it's just this K-cup that's getting your boy horny. I got blood in my dick, so I think about science. You ever been, too horny? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Have you ever been, too horny? There's, not horny enough. We always think about that. You're, not horny enough. Horny hot zone. No one ever thinks about when you're past that and you're too horny. You ever been like, okay, this is a little much. I don't need to be this jazzed up. I don't know what my body's doing. It's like, and I was like, maybe that's just my body wanting to, reproduce. That's all it is. That's instead of you have another thing about another maybe symptom of wanting to reproduce. It's what a weird thing. What if there was other shit like that? Because okay, let's first off be honest. That's what it is. You get horny because it's your body kicking you into gear to get used to banging so you can populate and get things going. We're put on this earth. I know we have personalities and emotions. We're individuals. We're here to just bang and bounce. Not bounce, but bang and just completely overpopulate. Real quick, I wonder if there's a parallel. Well, I'm really deep. What the fuck's in this coffee? Is this CBD coffee? Although I understand CBD is not. What gets you fucking I almost said jazz, jacked up. You ever I have 5 things I want to say come out of my mouth right now. We're becoming what I'm about to say. Okay, so I'm sorry. I wonder if there's so they assume there's other Earths out there. You know what I'm saying? I wonder if there's any that are just too populated. They're all just fucking and but they're not smart enough to stop. So it's just we're getting to that. So let's think about this. We're here to reproduce, and when your body, when nature's trying to get you to do that, it makes you horny. That's a symptom of reproduction. I wish there was other weird chemical things that happen when your body wants to do other shit. You know what I'm saying? When your body wants you to dance, assuming dancing is as important as reproduction. Just go with me, you pieces of shit. Imagine your body just let out a chemical that got you drunk, because we all know booze and dance floors equals It's funny, I was driving and I was like, if somebody put me on a dance floor right now and said, dance your best, what would happen? If somebody took you right now and said, you have to go on that dance floor and dance your best without laughing, can you do that? And I don't think many people could. Or what would, even if you're not laughing, like, could you, what would you do? I don't know. I realize, like, my dance IQ is not, to be perfectly honest right now, I feel like I would try to do some, like, hybrid robot with, like, waves and shit. Like, I feel like a lot of people would do this. Oh, God, this is wildly embarrassing. I feel like a lot of people would do maybe that. The legs are hard, though. You got to have good coordination, but I did a comedy class once. I know this is kind of embarrassing, but funny enough, it was a guest teacher. And I'm not one of those people who shits on comedy classes all the time. The only reason I shit on comedy classes, I'm going to go back to the dance drug thing, don't worry, that I shit on comedy classes is because they have a tendency to, like, hinder. If it's a bad instructor, they want to keep you in the box and don't talk about that, do this. It's like, just let them figure it out for them fucking self. Anyways, the teacher who was a guest that time had us all go on stage and just made us dance. And the point was, like, be fine with being weird and uncomfortable, which I'm like, that's a good, I kind of like that. It was wildly embarrassing, and it's funny, though, how, like, people still try to be funny in the dancing session, in the lesson at hand, you know? And I remember, like, just trying to, like, do this shit, and it's like, you can do it, like, sitting down, and you're like, you're like, oh, you know, I get it. Like, if we're all driving and you're just like, you do, like, 2 fucking moves, you're like, I think I can work, you know, I think I can figure it out on the floor. Give me a wedding with a circle, put on Usher, I'm sure I can figure it out. But you don't realize your knowledge ends after this. Yeah, you can piggyback another move onto it, but you don't realize that's still fucking 3.5 seconds. You got, like, a good 30 seconds. You blow your load pretty quick with the moves that you're used to doing in your car when you're pumped up. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, it was pretty good. I thought I was doing good until I realized I had no clue what I was doing. And funny story, the teacher was Eric Griffin. I don't know him personally, but he's, like, big in comedy as far as, you know, he's been on Workaholics. Look him up, ERIK Griffin. Very funny guy, very nice person. So hopefully me and him become friends one day and I can bring the story up and he can be like, yeah, I was fucking drunk. I just wanted to watch you idiots. Like, I feel like a part of me, if I was like, I'm going to do a guest, you know, I'm going to teach a class as a guest for 20 of those minutes, I'm going to enjoy it for myself. So, yeah, our body's just releasing chemicals, baby. I've never done any drug, like a Molly or, like, anything that, like, really fucks with your brain, serotonins and shit. But I was doing some research. Okay, say one more time, you motherfucker. Every kid in middle school, you knew a friend who did that thought they were cool because they smoke weed at 13. You're like, yeah, you're for sure not developing properly anymore. But do you, Luke? Every fucking kid had a friend in high school. He wore a World Industry shirt with those little flame guys on it, and he did shit like this. And you're like, wow. You're ripping a bong at fucking 13. I've smoked a bong in college. Yeah, that little kid was not doing that, but good for fucking him. Why were kids in middle? What a weird thing to think about as far as, like, middle school, where you're just hitting puberty. And, like, I went into middle school like a fucking baby, and I came out a baby still, but it was just like those couple years where you go from, like, 5th grade, you just want to play kickball and dick off and chill with your friends and stuff. Yeah, you had crushes on girls, but it wasn't like nothing crazy. Same with like 6th grade, and by like 8th grade, some kids are just like adults. You're like, the fuck, you have a mustache? Some kids were rocking stashes like this in goddamn 8th grade. This one kid, he was a goth kid. He always carried a, shout-outs to goths, just being quiet and just doing their thing. I feel like they were rarely lashing out like to be the center of attention. They were just like, I'm dressing like this because I like it, and either get on board and I feel like people just attack them. They're like, you fucking freaks, and we just bullied them out of society. Let's be honest. I think everybody bullied goths out of society. I feel bad for like that. The kid is just like a goth, and they just have to like any athlete, the day they realize they can't play anymore, you gotta, like, as they say, hang it up. How many goth people just had to hang up in their closet their chain shirt and their Jinkos and the gauges, and then one day they're just going to grab a dress shirt and they just catch a glimpse of it, and they're like, and that just does a flashback to them moshing at a Korn concert, and they go, the good old days. And then he puts it on and goes to work in that, and he goes, fuck you. This goth guy I knew, he was a fucking middle schooler. He carried he had a mouse, and he carried it in the snack-size Pringle can. Thought that was pretty funny. And I was like, you're not taking care of that thing. But maybe he did. Goths would do that. They would do some outlandish stuff. In the bathroom was the goths' playground, I feel like. You know, in the real world, they weren't exactly trying to stir the pot, maybe visually, but that's why there's that popular video of them dancing under the bridge, and they again, they're getting made fun of because the most popular version of it is when they put them dancing to Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas Is You. You're like, can they just have one video where we don't fuck with them? And but the bathroom is where the goths would play. This is our realm. You're like, where people shit and piss. Yeah. Oh, God. Goth kids and maybe other skaters and goths were in the same realm of just, you know, whatever the fuck that was. Being dirty, carving anarchy into things. You're like, you all live with your moms. It's funnier to look back at now. They're like, fucking anarchy, dude. You're like, your mom made your lunch. Well, guess what? I hope the government fucking pays for it. Oh, shit. In the bathroom, the goth kids would choke each other out. Anybody who went to middle school saw that. I don't think girls would do that. There was no goth girls getting choked out by each other, but I remember vividly walking in, had a piss, saw some goths just fucking around, and they would just push each other's necks into the wall and then just pass out, and I'm just like stepping over them to pee. Just an unconscious goth kid. Oh, the good old days, boys. Marilyn Manson was their thing. Go watch old talk shows with go watch an old talk show where they would, like, this is when parents, I don't remember this happening prior to that. Maybe it did, but like when kids started like finally like rebelling and dressing weird, because like maybe, I guess in the 80s they must have started, probably 70s. I'm just going to keep going back. Maybe in the 20s too. But there weren't like talk shows back then, but I remember like, I'm going to just say a name, even though it wasn't him, but like Maury Povich. The parent brought their goth kid on. And it's just funny, like how like oddly polite they were. They're like, I just like dressing like this. And the parent's like, you're a piece of shit. And the audience member, like, any questions? Like, no question. He's a piece of shit. And you're like, what the fuck are you guys attacking this poor kid with his lizard and reptiles around him? Really hitting a dead end with this Goth Rant map. Hey, good job. I don't know. I think farts are funny, but hey, see what happens when you just peel off and follow your brain. This is a good exercise of following my brain and how wildly ADD I am. And I realized something you got to work on, because not everybody wants to, go down the path. It's been a fun week with coronavirus. I like to keep track of that. I don't want to say getting a kick out of it, but I really enjoy here's a big word, statistics side of things, of tracking it. I watch the briefings, although I don't really care. I saw our president mention, this is such a fucking hacky thing. Yes, he's talked about swallowing disinfectant. Everybody and their goddamn grandmother posted that, like, what? You're like, yeah, he's a fucking idiot. It's just how many people pile on like that's a new... That's what annoys me. It's like, you're not saying anything new. Like, people, if you're going to post, our president said we should drink disinfectant, you're like, add a piece of you. This is like me trying to be, I don't know, like status writing 101 with Matty. Add a part of your life to that statement so we can see how it affects you directly. This is just like comedy 101. Don't just broadly say a vague thing and, we got to talk about drinking disinfectant. Then fucking be like, tag it. Let's tag the tag joke. Maybe that's the punchline. Maybe you quote what he said and be like, wow, a lot coming from a guy who yelled at us for eating Tide Pods. You can be creative, people. Let's not just all fucking pile on to the, we all heard it train. We all, that's a good point, the Tide Pod thing. That's a good callback. Somebody use it. Who's listening? Like and share. I don't give a fuck. But I do like, I don't know, like one thing I like keeping track of that. This part's not that funny, but it's interesting. Maybe it'll give you a peace of mind. Keeping track of that, I like, because it puts me at ease where I can see where it's going. Like for Los Angeles, it's pretty cool. I don't know if other states, cities, wherever the fuck you're from has this, but I can actually see how many, on our public health thing, how many people in my actual like city that I live in West Hollywood, giving way too much information. I can see how many people in this area have it. And when you do that, you can have a peace of mind. Like, okay, like for example, the little bubble city that I live in out here, there's 130 people with it out of 30-something thousand. Good peace of mind. Like I'm trying to like deconstruct everything that's happening, because if you look, you go from the media reporting the world's going to blow up in 5 seconds because of this shit, all the way down to like me finding out there's 130 people in fucking X amount of square miles. You know what I'm saying? So you got to like find where you want to sit in this fear scale of read everything on the internet and freak out and, do a stupid shit based on that, or dig in and fucking, research it. I think people generally, though, it's kind of like anything that gives you anxiety. It's like, what I do have anxiety. Ooh, I can make fun of it. I have it. Having anxiety means I'm just in a haunted house all the time. I'm just like, I'm gonna get scared about picture frames today for no reason. Anyways, a lot of things, and if this is bothering you, and you could take this little tidbit of advice and apply it to anywhere that kind of gives you a little unsettling feeling, is it's hard to do. Easier said than done, but you have to like educate yourself more, because what a lot of people want to do is, you see, like, for example, you see something shitty on the news about, we'll say the coronavirus, obviously, that's what we've been talking about, you fucking idiot. I'm talking about me, not you. You see something shitty, freaks you out, and then you shut it off, and I don't want to look at this. But you don't realize that's still, bouncing around in the old noggin, and that was not done on purpose. Actually, my neck feels like tight. I did some pull-ups earlier. Your boy just beasting them pull-ups. So your first instinct, shut it off, try to ignore it. Now, what I've learned in my years of freaking out is your anxiety comes when you are trying to control something that you can't control, and that tension is basically what anxiety is, let's be honest. So, like, I'm trying to, not think about whatever the freak scary thing, I saw on the news or whatever, or that bothered me, and then I'm trying to not think about it, and that tension of, like, dwelling on it, and, whatever. So, basically, Matt, get to the point. Do your own research and, like, dig in, because you're going to realize the more you, like, research something or, understand it more, it'll put your mind at ease so you're not freaking the fuck out. So, like I said, I go, nothing against the rest of the world or whatever. I feel terrible, all this shit, but I'm like, let me just focus on my area because this is where I live, and anything out of my area is out of my control, so I'm not going to worry about that. So I like how I went from talking about fart noises and... Oh, that's what I want to talk about, the chemical thing. I'm going to write this down because I want to get back to that. It's such a bad... I'm going to be very professional now. I'm really very professional now. I'm going to show you what I wrote down at the end of this. It's just funny. It's funny that that's going to remind me of something. But for real, if you have anxiety, I had it. It's a very shitty feeling. So just... I go, okay, I'm gonna, I want to know about this area, because then you can walk around and have a peace of mind and understand. So basically, like I said, I went on, and I think most cities should be doing this now, but I went on, like, the public health thing, researched it, realized, how many people a day keep adding it, what areas have it, blah, blah, blah. So, like, when you start crunching those numbers, you feel better. And one thing that I'm realizing that they're not reporting on, which I feel like would make people feel better, but also probably act up more as far as, like, not caring and still going out, is these numbers are the total cases, like, of confirmed. Like, when somebody was recovered, they kind of, like, got rid of that because no one's following up anymore. And I feel like they're oddly leaving the confirmed number, the high one, just out there because it's freaking people out. But you're like, this has been around for a month. The people who got it a month ago don't have it anymore. If, like, you ever thought about that? And today, so another thing, I was like, okay, I'm going to use what can research online and apply it to the overall number of LA. So I'm like, all right, let's see how long it lasts from the day you get it. Like, how long does it last, basically? Cold lasts a week, yada, yada. So they said this thing can last, on average, 2 weeks if your symptoms are, like, mild or moderate. Obviously, if you have severe ones, you're in the hospital, but you're kind of out of circulation. So that's why I was trying to think. And even if you are a carrier, I'm going to assume it's out of your system in 2 weeks as well. I could be wrong. But so I looked at this chart, and this is so boring. I get a kick out of this. So I looked at a chart that has all the dates and what number we were at per day. And I basically, from today, counted back 2 weeks, and I figured, okay, everything beyond that, going from, like, the day it happened, those numbers are gone. So that means, like, for LA, there's, like, 18,000 confirmed cases. But as of 2 weeks ago, from 2 weeks ago to the day it started happening in LA, that's like 8,500 people, right? So that means, okay, now out here there's, like, I'm speculating there's still 10,000 people who have it. And even that number, I'm like, that could be different, but that makes you feel way better than seeing the gigantic fucking number they keep pushing in our face. So anyways, just don't shy away from things that are freaking you out. You got to go at them. You'll feel better. But, yeah, I don't know why. I just feel like all this fucking... what's pissing me off with all this, too, is how, like, they're doing, like, these studies now, and I watched this thing with a doctor where what they're doing is, like, with the antibody test, how, I like how people are like, we started watching your podcast and not listen about this shit. Nothing I'm saying is going to freak you out, don't worry. Heard your arms fall off when you get it. They're doing, like, that antibody test, meaning they're testing, like, 200 people, and they're testing you to see if you have the antibody, which represents if you had it, and they did that, and like 4% of the people out of the group they tested had it. So out of the 200 people, 4% of people have the antibody. And from there, that little number, they apply that to the population of this area and say, okay, with that being said, we're assuming 4% of everybody, what's it called, had the virus. You're like, how the fuck are you doing? Like, how do you assume that drastic of a number because of two? Like, I get what they're doing, but so it's like, whatever, but they're not doing some crazy shit off that as far as like reopening stuff. But, what's it called? This other fucking doctor I was watching some showed in fucking Bakersfield. It's a fucking dump up there. No offense if you're from there. He was like saying how, okay, out of the 100,000 people they tested, 13% have it. So he's doing the same, but he's doing it as far as people who test positive for the actual virus. And now he's like, okay, if out of the amount we've tested, 13% of people have it. So he's applying that number to everything. And people are just doing this to get the mortality rate down, which you're like, you know, I get what you're trying to do, but it's like you can't act on those numbers though, because it's still it's a number we don't know. So what am I trying to get at? I don't know. What I'm trying to go back to, folks, is how horny equals your body wanting to reproduce, wants you to have little yous running around, more people, so we can get them sick. But I was thinking, I was like, I've never done Molly, but I was like curious, you know, it's releasing chemical. It's not adding to your... When you take Molly, it just opens up some fucking valves in your brain, and that's why you feel good. So it's like you're just... It's a thing that is using your body's chemicals. Obviously, it's it's doing a little more than they typically do. And I was like, what other things fucking do that? And I realized, like, when you orgasm, your body is releasing... Let's read this right now. Baby, come back. You think I could type? I'm going to say when you... I already fucked it up. No, I was right. What chemicals? Oh, I almost wrote comicals. Basically what I'm getting at is when you nut or orgasm or whatever, it's releasing the same shit that Molly does. And I was like thinking, sometimes after I do that, dopamine, we got serotonin, we got some other crap that's fucking spewing out. How come when you write when your body orgasms, what chemicals are released? And now I gotta show you this shit. What the fuck? Why is that the fucking picture? Yo, why is two Beatles banging as the goddamn picture for that fucking question? That doesn't make any goddamn sense. Hey, internet. No. I always say I have like a little life hack where it's like, I've never done Molly, but I will. And then you immediately switch over to YouTube and play music while you have the residual overload of dopamines. And it sounds better. And I'm like, that's Molly. I'm life hacking Molly. Oh, you have to take a pill? I'm just going to fucking feed the geese and goddamn turn up some fucking Diplo. And you have the same... It's like such a small amount of time. But it's the feet. You're like, why does music sound better like after? And it's like, duh. Molly, more like fucking... I've been really bad about these things where I set myself up like that, and I can't think of a... We're going to pop a Molly. I'm about to pop a nut. You see me at a rave, just my hand in my pants. They're like, you want Molly? I'm like, I got it. 30 minutes. Let's go. What are we going to call this one? Spelling farts. That's a good clickbait thing. Spelling farts, choking Goths, and fucking What was the first one I said? My memory is getting so bad. What the fuck was the first one I just said? If it wasn't Molly nuts, it has to be. I'm going to go back and listen. Oh, spelling farts, choking goths, and Molly nuts. I hope my neighbors are listening. Shoutouts to Very Thin Walls. You know your apartment has thin walls when I can hear my fucking neighbors clipping their toenails. You see that? Baby, come back. The orgasmic history. All right, there's no love, lust. Lust sounds like a creepy. That's a gross thing. What happens in your brain during a female orgasm? Run. Guys. I'm kidding. Put on your pants and leave before she tries cuddling. Yay, boys. This is the boys only podcast. If you want to be a Patreon member, you got to send me a picture of your dick. No, I'm kidding. That's funny. What happens in your brain? Why are you assuming, like, what would happen in my brain? What happens in my brain? I'm like, is she faking? Is that for real? Because seems like she wasn't into it for quite a bit. Seems odd that she's conveniently doing that now. Seems like she wants to get the fuck out. What happens to your brain when you have sex? Orgasm. How to trigger dopamine in a woman. All right, guys, who's like... Hey, buddy, if you have to Google that, I'm just going to take a stab at you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Woman climax signs. Let's read these fucking lies. Oh, God. Symptoms. Ooh, there's symptoms. She monotonely says, wow, this is so good. Oh, my God. It says, an orgasm is a feeling of intense physical pleasure for a woman, and you know she's reached that when she starts fatting. Oh, girls, that's why you don't want to do it, because you got to fat. I'm sure we're making that. I'm kidding. That doesn't say that. It just shows these Beatles fucking again. All right, guys, I'm done. I want to keep these around 30 minutes because I don't think anyone watches this, and I got to go make chicken wings, so... Sorry if that hurt your ears. I'm just realizing that this is audio. What are we going to take away? If you guys can spell a fart in the comment section, I will reward you somehow. Oh, by the way, this is what it said. I just wrote cum/Molly. That's one of those post-its I hope I find in like a year, and I'm like, is that what it's made of? All right. Guys, this has been episode 46, I think. Wow, that's crazy. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, tell your friends I make no sense. I hope this just filled the dead air while you're cleaning. If you're still listening, I appreciate it. If you turned this off and for some reason you scrolled ahead to right now, thanks for supporting my dream. Really appreciate it. But anyways, stay safe. Talk to you guys later. Bye.